Hi, and welcome to episode 7 of In Conversation. With over the next hour or so, pleasure to be joined by 4 current students in DCU. Firstly, we're going to be talking to Clara and Roisin from the communications program in just a couple of minutes. And then a little bit later on, we're going to be talking about our education, Bachelor of Education program here in DCU with Ellen and Eoin. So you are very, very welcome. Welcome to, I guess, or welcome back maybe for those that are tuning in again. So these conversations are always, we're on our week 7 now. Talked to many students and graduates the last couple of weeks about their insights, their journeys, some of them from in Ireland and some of those graduates outside of Ireland at the moment. So they always take us down many different places to give, I guess, those listening, the potential students, an opportunity to get an insight what it's like to really be inside the classroom from an academic perspective, what they do inside the classroom, but also, as I said, outside the classroom, in and around the university, campus life, clubs and societies. I guess their life in general. So that's what hopefully we'll delve a little bit into in the next couple of minutes. And I see Clara and Roisin in and patiently waiting. So I'm going to promote them across and we'll get a chance to properly say hello. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yes.
Hello.
Very good. Roisin, how are you? Where are you beaming in from?
I'm living in Dublin currently. I'm about 10 minutes walk from DCU, but unfortunately not able to be there. But it's nice that I can see it from my window.
Roisin,
The depths of Loud.
oh, don't sound so disappointed.
I'm not. I never do. It's the disappointment from other people when I say that. But yes, tuning in from Loud.
I think they call that stereotyping.
Oh yeah. I was up in Croke Park once for a speech thing, and someone said, "Oh, it's the first time someone from Loud will get to be in Croke Park in September." And I was like, well, that's the best compliment I can get.
You say it with such a throwaway and old speech thing. A few hundred people hanging around listening, was there?
Sorry?
It's probably a few hundred people hanging around watching and listening on the day, an old speech thing.
Oh, who knows?
Who knows is right. You're both keeping well, I guess, firstly?
Yeah, all good. Assignments picking up now, but grand, yeah.
Assignments picking up, so it depends. Some people watching this now and this will go on record, so it depends when people are tuning in, but currently it's week what of college?
Week 7.
7. Yeah. So it's just about when everything's kind of picking up that you've kind of gone over
10.
your mid-semester slump and everything's kind of picking up again. So
I don't know how we'll approach this. I have a few notes, and it's the first week we've actually done two guests or 2 students from the same program. So I guess we'll maybe just jump into the course, obviously, and you'll be able to give us your own unique perspectives on the journey that you have. But I also want to cover outside the classroom, because I know the 2 yourselves and all the students in general get involved in lots of different things. So we'll jump around, very loose, very informal. I should mention as well, for those that are listening in or watching in now live, not necessarily on when it goes on record, but there's a Q&A function on the screen. If you want to ask a question as we go, please just type it in. It'll be anonymous. Happy to, I guess, put some questions to Roisin and Clara as we go. Who wants to start? Give us a rundown of communications. What goes on?
I'll let you go first, Roisin.
Cool. So the communications program in DCU offers kind of that perfect mix between practical approach to media and a theoretical approach to media, which is why I was drawn to the course straight away. It differs from multimedia in the way that you get lots of theory with it too. So it's a 3-year program, and it offers insights into the life of film and TV, radio, anything practical to do with media, but also the theoretical side of marketing, public relations, sales, advertising, and so on and so on. So that's kind of what we do in a broad overview. There's a perfect mix there between your modules where you actually get behind the camera and learn stuff, whereas your modules where you have your essays and theories to learn as well. So that will kind of be the overview of the course.
Clara, what's she missing? Anything there?
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose she's covered it in a general basis there. It's great in the way that like you kind of get both theory and practical, but also like you're never left one mod, like you never semester with like no practical elements. So you kind of always feel like you're getting stuck in, which is great. Another part of the course I suppose that is great is that often through our course head we're given opportunities like to get into like to dive right into the media industry, like with different internships and different opportunities to work in the media industry, which is absolutely fantastic. when it doesn't have an internship along with the course. So it's great in that sense that you always get like a chance to get stuck in a practical element as well.
I definitely want to come back to kind of modules, a little bit more specifics, but because we're at that time of the year in terms of people, open day season, people having a look, doing their research, and obviously over the next couple of months, but in general and around this time, and we have our open days, as I said, 20th and 21st of November. Research wise, and again, this might be very different for the both of you, did you go to open days? I know right now we can't, so it's virtual, but research wise, where did you find your information?
Would you believe it came up on my Snapchat memories today that I was at the DCU Open Day 4 years ago today. My Snapchat memories where I was going taking pictures with Cian Egan, or who was some radio DJ that was there on the spin truck or something. It just came up in my memories today, and I thought that was funny. But in terms of research, I hadn't a notion what I wanted to do. I knew media interested me. I knew the whole area of film and television interested me. And I wanted something that offered me not to be kind of like a jack of all trades, but the master of none, so far as that phrase goes. So as far as research goes, this was the only course I could find that offered the perfect mix. So when I was looking at courses, I needed to find that mix of marketing and practical element. I suppose that's immediately what I went for. So I went to the open days and attended the talks just to make sure the modules were fitting what was written in the prospectus and that kind of thing. I wouldn't know if it's the same with Clara.
Yeah, I suppose I was quite similar. I kind of jumped around a good few career paths, to be honest, but I eventually came back to media, and I suppose probably quite similar to people. I went to both open days. I went in 5th year and 6th year, and mainly it was through the prospectus that I kind of found. I looked at them all. I looked at all the media courses. I literally lay them all out in the sitting room floor and tried to look at the different aspects and like what appealed to me and what didn't. And even like the county, like I'm from Kilkenny originally, and I don't have a college in my county, so it was kind of looking at the different counties as well. That was kind of how I chose it. And DCU, I think I found with the open day, of course, this year, unfortunately, they won't get the same atmospheric feel for DCU because they won't be on campus themselves. But I definitely found when I got to DCU, I really liked the atmosphere around the place. But hopefully that can be expressed over virtual in this weekend.
What are some of the things? So you mentioned lots of them, maybe all of them so far, but obviously the academic side of it in terms of a career, where you want to go. You mentioned there the college, you mentioned there the people, the atmosphere. Anything else people should be looking out for in terms of when they're doing their research, or does that more or less cover it?
Yeah,
I would say something to keep an eye out, just because I remember realizing it around my mocks. I suppose just keep an eye out for the requirements. So DCU communications, thankfully, it's only requires one thing for from a subject point of view. You need H4 in English. That was the only thing that like you're required to have. But I think when you're looking for research in general for your courses, you definitely need to have a look at those requirements, and while you're like studying and everything, have that in the back of your mind. Like I always knew I had English like as quite a high importance when I was studying, because I knew I needed a H4 or higher to get into this course. So that might be
I think on top of that as well, if you pick your course, not a lot of people would pick their courses for career paths. Some people just pick their courses as their interest, which is absolutely perfect as well. I think that's important, but it is important to kind of delve into what modules are on offer as well. So if you're looking for a career to be a sports broadcaster, you need to go and look at your modules and say, well, is there a module that offers me, because you could go to communications thinking you might get something like that and then discover that, oh, there's no radio module. So I think it is an important kind of thing to look further than abstract of the course and the prospectus, and maybe just dive into those modules. For me, it was important that I got an element of public relations, and now I'm studying public relations in 3rd year. So I think that would be my biggest advice, is to kind of look beyond the first section. Now it's great we have a virtual prospectus, you can literally click things, so look beyond the first page of the prospectus, I think, of the courses that you're looking at, wherever that may be.
I was going to say there and add, and I know to yourselves and all of our student ambassador team do so much good work, but in terms of trying to find out more, getting the student perspective is often helpful. So for those that are listening now or maybe listening back, there's loads of different ways that you can. I know you two yourselves are prime examples of actually reaching out to a student to ask them what it feels like inside the program, which is what we're doing now, I guess, to a certain extent. Let's talk a little bit around, so we mentioned broadly speaking the course itself in terms of the opportunities, and I guess from a helicopter view, maybe try get into some of them modules again for those that are listening, some of the things that are covered. Do you specialize as you go? What ways there to set up? And again, for either one, Clara and Roisin, you might jump in together, I guess.
Yeah, so I think maybe in first year you get a very, very broad overview of the course. You do things like introduction to communication theory, which basically studies how people interact with each other and how people literally use communication as a way of living. And then you have what else would you have in first year? You have your digital media skills. So that's in second semester, where you get kind of behind a laptop and discover how to actually create your own content. And content creation is such an up and coming area field of employment, and I think that's important as well, that you get a taste of that in first year. And as the years go on, you kind of delve further into each one of those. So that's only two examples. I know we did social studies as well, because I think it's important to understand the people you're studying before you study the way they communicate. So those were three, the ones that stood out to me in kind of first year. And then towards the latter years of the course, you kind of delve them more in depth. So now we do video production, photography, and audio all as three separate modules. So you get a chance to do all those, as well as press and public relations, sport, media and society, if you're interested in sport, performance kind of elements of media as well. So
yeah, Roisin's pretty much covered it there. I suppose the nice thing about it is in second year and third year, you get to choose which modules you're interested in. So if there are particular elements of communications that you're interested in, like Roisin said there, you have the choice in second year of doing advertising, or else you can go into sport media. And then in third year, you can have a look at environmental media, or you can look at media and religion. And then you have the options of looking at TV drama, media law. So the course is so broad, but you can very much make your path, have your degree cover the parts that you want to cover. I think that's a great part of the course that probably not a lot of people realize, that you can very much make it quite a niche course depending on what modules you choose.
And Roisin, some people are often caught, and maybe Clara, Roisin, you were the same, often caught in and around journalism, in and around multimedia, in and around comms, in terms of the space, not too sure where to go. Will I go this way or that way? Maybe try and cover where comms would sit, or where journalism, multimedia would sit in terms of people's interests.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of important to note that if you know that you want to be a content creator, you want to be in editing, you want to be behind that camera, maybe multimedia is the perfect path for you, because that is solely it's not solely the editing side, but solely the technological side. It's a Bachelor of Science, so it differs in that way. So if you know that behind the camera and behind the scenes is where you want to be, and that's what you're sure of, then absolutely go for a course maybe like multimedia. As far as journalism goes, if you know that gathering sources is your thing, if you've always been interested in the news reporting, any area of kind of more the public relations side of news, then journalism would be for you, especially the writing side of it. I think the reason the comms fell within my interest is because I just loved media. I loved everything that media could allow us to do. I loved the fact that media connected us, and I wanted to explore that as a whole, not just as writing or editing. So I think where comms is nice for people is if you just want to study media on as a whole, rather than go into either separate would you go subsections of media as it is. So I think that's important to note, that if your interests lie within editing, absolutely go for multimedia. It's a fantastic course, as well as journalism and many more kind of media, Bachelor of Arts Media Studies share a lot of our modules, and we share modules with journalism as well. We're sharing press and public relations with them. I think we share digital media skills with multimedia students. So yeah, I think comms offers a really broad overview of media. So if you're not sure what quite niche interest you have the chance to kind of, as Clara said, narrow it down in second and third year with comms as well.
Clara, this one's maybe thrown over to you. So it is quite a, what would you say, there's quite a variety that goes on. Plugging that into a practical real-time environment, give us a sense of not only your experience and your exposure, what the students have on offer in terms of access to studios, etc.
Yeah, so I suppose DCU stands out in like communications aspect from literally the facilities that it provides. It has an abundance of facilities. So you've got a photography studio, a television studio, there's podcasting studios. I think there's about three. There's also a full functioning radio station, which is the same equipment that you find in like 98 FM or Spin 103.8. So it's great that you get like the experience of working a full functioning like radio desk when you go into first year, and you get all these opportunities that you can use them throughout your modules when you're studying them. And then also if you join the Media Production Society, they're the ones who run the radio station. So that's one of the societies you can join in DCU, and it's a great way to like put your practical skills you're learning in college in your like college course to use. And you get to make friends and you get to make lots of content, and that type of thing for portfolios at the end of your college experience is really helpful, that you have things that you've made that you can put to you can show your future employers, which is fantastic. I suppose as well, like the fact that we also have a loans department in DCU, so you get access to amazing equipment, like equipment that costs hundreds of euro that you're able to take out and you're able to use. There's also the arts bursary that is provided by DCU. That means if you have an idea for a radio show, for a documentary, or for a short film, you can apply for this arts bursary, and then DCU might be able to pay for some of the production element of something that you're working on, which is absolutely fantastic. I was mentioning earlier, there was basically sometimes we get like opportunities from our year head to get the get like on hand experience. So when I was in first year, I got to work on Ireland's Got Talent that was taking place in the Helix, which was great. So it means that like the practical skills that you're learning get put into like a full functioning like television show, which was such a cool experience to get so early on in college.
It's obviously quite a dynamic program, quite a dynamic university in terms of the way you're both describing it, the experience that you have had so far, and hopefully will have well into the future. I want to talk about two things because we have 10 minutes left. And again, just a reminder, if you're watching, there's a Q&A function on the screen. If you do want to ask a question, it's anonymous, throw it in there and we'll get to it. I want to talk about two things, and one is the journey to college and settling in and that space. And the second thing I want to probably finish on then is clubs and societies outside the classroom. In terms of settling in, Clara, you mentioned coming from Kilkenny, and Roisin will get to you as well. You mentioned coming from Kilkenny, that journey of coming from secondary school into DCU. Give us a sense of maybe how that went for you, and just, I guess, how DCU supports people coming into university.
Absolutely, yeah. So I was honestly terrified coming into college. I was really scared I wouldn't get to know anyone, that I wouldn't make friends, because I was the only one from my school that was coming into my course. And then there were a couple others in the college, but I didn't know them very well. I was lucky enough that I got to live in Larkfield in my first year, which I found really helpful, like just getting to know people and everything. But it's a really daunting experience leaving home, having to cook for the first time by yourself, even traveling up and down to Dublin is quite a daunting experience by yourself for the first time. I found that from the get-go, honestly, a really big help for me was I actually happened to meet two student ambassadors on my first day there when I was having a look around the campus with my aunt, and I asked them where the radio station was, and I met two of them. They brought me up and I was chatting away to them. They were on my course, so they were able to tell me loads about the college and about the different aspects that I wouldn't have known about if like just get from learning it from a perspective. That was one of the things I really loved about DCU, that like the people, it didn't matter, like I'd never met them before. It didn't matter who I was, like that I was in first year. They were able to just chat to me, and that there was like I had like two friends, I suppose, like kind of people that I knew that I was able to talk to. I suppose it's the atmosphere of DCU that really made it so easy to settle in, that you knew you could talk to anyone and that you could ask for help from anyone, and it would always be a welcoming environment. I found that really, really comforting starting.
Thanks, Clara. Roisin, get to you now in a second. I just want to mention at this point that there's a whole student support and development unit that if and when you do decide DCU is a place that you want to go, and you have a challenge, or you want to move course, or financially, or your well-being, and so many other things, there's a whole support unit, dedicated staff on hand to kind of give you that assistance throughout your time, not just as you're coming in, but throughout your time. Roisin, your side coming into college, how did it go for you? How did you settle in?
Yeah, I mean, like it was the same. It was quite scary coming from a place as sheltered as secondary school. I suppose one difference I had was I commuted, and I was really afraid that this would hinder my college experience. But I felt like DCU, I sound like a sponsored ad here, but I mean this. I felt like DCU kind of cushioned me from all angles. So you had the SU that were on hand all the time if you needed like a place to eat your lunch or a place to go. You had the big youth student centre, that I didn't feel like after hours that I had nowhere to go or anything. So I think that was a big help for me, because commuting can be like, and I've done it now and I'm still commuting, well, for my couple of days in the semester, but I feel like that's kind of a big help to know that if you are close and you're worried that you're going to miss out on the experience, if you maybe don't have the finances available for living up in college, that it's completely commuter accessible as well. Places like the library to go for my study, so I didn't have to just sit in noisy kind of halls to study. Those were two big helps to me. I think the Students' Union was a massive support in the way that they had the freshers page, and that's how I met my course. Clara was the first person I met in DCU, believe it or not, and I've been annoying her every day since. So yeah, I think you're kind of cushioned from all angles. As you said, the Student Support and Development Service, I knew they were there to help me at any kind of way I needed help in terms of like finances, fees and everything like that. But yeah, I think the unique thing about DCU is I feel like you are cushioned from all angles, but you're not overwhelmed with, here, come for help, come for help, come for help. You can just avail of them as you need them. But as far as settling in goes, I feel like it was kind of easy for me. I feel like I found my place quite quickly, and not everyone does that, but it's good to know that there's supports and services there, that if you don't find your place immediately, that it will come.
Yeah, definitely. And for the last few minutes, I just want, and it's a good segue into maybe just the last bit, which is outside. So you've done all your research, you know about the course, you're happy enough with your choice, you're happy you got in. First couple of weeks, then you've settled in. Outside of the course, and again, you're both very active in terms of what you do, etc. Give us a sense of not only what you do, but also the variety and the opportunity that is there and is available for every single student, no matter your interest or your background or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely. I do you want to go?
No, you can go ahead.
I think one thing that I found funny is when I wanted to go to college, I wanted to be a dancer. And my parents were like, well, yeah, we'll support you, but maybe just like have a look elsewhere. So I think for me, it's not often, but a very important aspect was somewhere that I could dance, and I had access to dance classes. And DCU Dance, which is a dance society, allowed me to have access to dance classes 5 days a week, as well as my course. So I got the best of both worlds. I felt like I was studying dance and this. But the variety, if you have anything that you are interested in, I guarantee DCU has a society for it, from everything from coffee sock to Harry Potter sock to her campus to DCU Dance Drama. We have a sober society that offers events with no alcohol. And there's just something for everyone. So for me, I really found my place within dance, drama, and the sober sock. So I feel like that was really important to find not only like-minded people with your course, but like-minded people with your hobbies. Me and Clara met because I was wearing a dance t-shirt or a drama t-shirt, and she was like, oh, are you joining drama sock? And I said, yeah. And now we both sit on the committees for our respective societies. So there's such a way to get involved. And if you're like me and you wanted your hobby to center for your life, like I can't say that I won't go on and continue maybe into the media side of the dance industry, because DCU supported me with studios in the gym and a massive solace studio up in the top of the U Centre to have that dance experience among other students and to have intervarsity competitions and intertalk events. Like there's so much available that's just not
Yeah, just cut off in the last second. But
Yeah.
anyway, literally last second.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very similar to Roisin, I suppose, in like kind of my.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Joys of Zoom. Yeah, I suppose I'm very similar to Roisin in like kind of my start into college. Like I was really interested in drama, and I got really involved in MPS, which is a media production society, which were great in like the sense that like with the media production society, I got to use all the skills I was learning in my course and like got to learn so many things and be a part of so many experiences and get to know so many people while doing something I loved. Similar to drama, like I think that's probably the biggest selling point for societies, I suppose, really is that like if you want people who are very like you, who are very similar, like interests very similar, passions very similar, ideals, like that's where you'll find them in societies. If you find something you like, funnily enough, there's probably about 100 people who like them too, and they're going to find them here. So it's a wonderful way to meet people, meet like-minded people, and get experiences that you never get otherwise. Like, I've produced shows, I've had my own radio show, I've been a part of like massive fundraisers and things like that. It's an incredible opportunity that you're given in college that you might never get again. So I think getting involved in that type of thing, like societies, even things like the student union provides, like the different events that they do, like the Dark Into Life and everything like that, there's just so many opportunities that you get in college that you're realistically not going to get any other time. So just to keep, I suppose, keep your eyes and your ears open, and keep your, and like avail of every opportunity that you're given in college, because especially in DCU there are so many of like whatever you're interested in.
Three quick things, as we're running out of time rapidly. These are a drop in the ocean, these conversations. First thing is, was it really the first, did you meet each other, were you one of the first people to meet each other?
Yeah.
Really, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were in Newbar.
First day.
And we were in Newbar with like our course group chat put us in, and Roisin was wearing, I'm pretty sure it was Dear Evan Hansen t-shirt. Am I right?
Yeah.
I think she's frozen.
I think she
I'm
said
pretty
yes.
sure it was Dear Evan Hansen t-shirt.
Oh yeah, it was Dear Evan Hansen t-shirt.
Yeah, and I asked her about it, and then I think we went to the opening of the student centre together, and then from there we became friends.
This is not a setup. That's brilliant stuff. We are running out of time, so I'm just conscious. Well, one quick question that came in is, what areas of work do students go into after graduating? So
yeah, I mean, you can go into any areas. If I freeze, sorry about my countryside Wi-Fi. So I think some of the main areas are production. So the practical elements, you can be producer behind the scenes. You can go into on-camera work if you're interested in kind of like being the face of something. I think one of the areas I'm looking really very much at is marketing, public relations, advertising, sales. I mean, there's so many elements, so you can kind of decide whether you're practical or whether you're more kind of on the kind of theory side of things. But I know people who have gotten jobs in the Jemison marketing program. I know people who have gone into production companies. We've people working in L'Oreal. Pringles, I think, is one of the last graduates. So many opportunities.
Clara, last word or last sentence or whatever way you can package it, advice to your younger self. You're doing this all again. You're listening now to Clara in another world. Advice to your younger self.
First thing I'd say Clara in first year is unrecognizable to Clara now, but I suppose don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because I think like that was probably one of the things in the first couple of weeks. I really had to get out of my comfort zone to like kind of go to these new events and like kind of find new things to do and everything like that, but just don't be afraid. Get out of your comfort zone. Like it's a new experience, and it's something that you will do once and that you will hopefully like remember for the rest of your life. So just put yourself out there and get as like avail of every opportunity that comes your way, and even put yourself in situations that you may get other opportunities.
It's funny, that question, I've asked it a few times over the last couple of weeks, and it's always come back pretty much the exact same phrase in a different way, pretty much the exact same: back yourself, go after it, enjoy it, get involved, something to that extent. So I'm not surprised. These are really just a drop in the ocean, so I do apologize that we're flying through it or have flown through it the last half an hour. Your time is always, both of you, I know we have Ellen and Eoin standing by, always really appreciate it. We'll hopefully see everybody physically in real life soon, as opposed to over Zoom. So thanks for your time. Thanks for your insights. And for those that are listening, please do get in touch. I know the girls and other student ambassador members are always willing to help out. So studenthelp@dcu.ie, you'll get us on that anytime.
You can reach us also on the app on UniBuddy. I know I've been talking to a lot of secondary school students who are interested in communication. So if anyone's interested, that's a platform to talk one-on-one with us about maybe the more intricate details of course.
You really are a salesperson. Thank you for both your times. It's much appreciated. We'll let you go.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Jonny.
Thanks, Bye. Thanks, Roisin. Thanks, Clara. So just while we change over in the next couple of seconds, because I see Ellen and Eoin from our education side hanging and waiting in the wings. Eoin is waving at me here. Hey, Eoin. I'm just going to give everybody a couple of seconds. I know we're just after 4:30 if you're watching this live. So everybody, a couple of seconds to come into the room. Just like this, I'm going to ask Ellen and Eoin to come into the room. So bear with us, and the technology hopefully will work for us the next couple of seconds. So we are in our brand new studio. We're not really in our makeshift studio, but there you go. Joys of technology. How are you doing? I've spoken to you not too long ago. So how are you both doing?
Good, yeah, doing well.
Yeah, not too bad, sure.
Good. Owen, you're in one of our academic campuses, I believe. Would you like to share where you are at the moment?
I'm currently sitting in the Students' Union area of the St. Patrick's campus here. It's lovely, actually. It's nice and quiet, which is nice.
So exclusively the next 27 minutes is all going to be about the St. Patrick's campus and the education side of things. So you will be delighted, well, you'll both be delighted, but as will our listeners. So definitely want to talk, and we will certainly talk about the course, what goes on inside the classroom. Want to talk a little bit about outside the classroom, and then we'll just talk a little bit around, I guess, the opportunities in general off the back of the program, because those that are listening will be interested. Just before we kick into it and just jump into the conversation, just a reminder, on the screen, depending on what device, or if you're on a laptop, there's a Q&A function. If you click on that, you'll be able to ask a question, and I'll be happy to put it to either Ellen or Eoin at any stage. So do ask and do get involved. It'll be anonymous, so don't worry. So who wants to tell us a little bit about the program from a helicopter view? What goes on? What's it all about? Class sizes, structure. Ellen, we'll go to you.
Okay, yes. So hi everyone. My name is Ellen, and I'm in my final year of the Bachelor of Education. So basically the BEd program is a very kind of busy, full-on program, and basically the program qualifies you at the end of your 4 years to become a primary school teacher. And there is about 450, it kind of depends year to year, but approximately 450 people in each year of the course. So it's a really big course. I think it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in DCU. And there's 4 years to the course. Generally, the points tend to be in around 460, 465, kind of in that kind of range. I know last year they kind of went up a little bit, but predicted grades and stuff kind of, affected a lot of the points. But generally, they're kind of around the same. Basically, the course is kind of taught in kind of 2 different types of classes mainly. Seminars, which are kind of groups of 20, 30 kind of, and those change for each class. So it's not like you're put in a class at the start of first year and you move with them. It's literally a different group of 20 or 30 each hour of the day. And then the other part of the course is taught through lectures, where it could be all 450 of us in one giant lecture hall, E218 in St. Pat's. And they're kind of more like lectures with PowerPoints and that kind of thing, whereas the stuff that happens in the smaller groups is kind of very interactive. You have like PE classes and drama classes, music classes, and you're up off your feet always doing things.
If I was reading the prospectus on what isn't in it as such that is very apparent when you arrive in there in your first day and first week, so what do people need to know about, aside from the academics, and what's it all about?
So I think, first of all, just in terms of St. Patrick's campus itself, I think the atmosphere in it is really nice. Like, you walk in and everyone kind of knows each other, and you get a smile and a wave because you've been in a lecture with someone, or you've just seen them around or anything like that. Like, that's something that's really apparent from the first couple of weeks you go in. And then I think you just have to be prepared to put yourself in the shoes of the child, which is something that can feel really unnatural. Ellen's laughing away because it's something
definitely.
that's so unnatural. Especially in first year, you can feel like you're making a bit of an idiot out of yourself sometimes, but it's honestly the best way to experience it. Like, in an early education, early childhood education seminar, we might be looking at, how kids learn through play, and talking about sand and fine motor skills and Play-Doh and fine motor skills and things like that. And then you'd actually play with sand and Play-Doh for a little while. So it's something that, it takes a while to get used to. But once you do that, it's actually really quite fun because you're getting stuff to use for the classroom. You're also having a bit of crack while you're doing it because you're doing it with your friends, and for your placement and for your further teaching, it's giving you actual ideas that are tried and tested and ready to use in the classroom. But
Sorry, go on.
It's something that definitely doesn't come naturally at the start, and you have to really discover the child within yourself as well if that makes sense.
No, it does, and that's the next question I was going to ask. How can you accelerate, or can you? So the reason why I wanted to ask the question in the first place was obviously try and uncover those little areas that you don't quite often hear about or get into the shoes of the child. But in this particular example, is it just a matter of people being aware of it and knowing it's coming and doing their very best to immerse themselves, or is there any other way that you found, that looking back, that could maybe accelerate that particular area?
I think if you're prepared for it and you know it's coming, it's that little bit easier. It's a great way. It's a fantastic icebreaker because, especially me, I came in not knowing anyone on the course. So it's a brilliant icebreaker when you're all there and you're playing with like toy cars on the little road mat thing that every kid seemed to have in their bedroom. And it's just a great kind of icebreaker, and you have the chats, and it's like, oh, wasn't that gas when we were doing that in the early childhood seminar? And that's really the best way you can make friends and get to know people through that.
Ellen, it's a busy program.
Yes, definitely. We probably have, it kind of depends on the semester. We have typically like 24 to 26 hours a week of contact hours, so lectures and seminars. And then, we do an awful lot of modules. So we have, like, think of every subject you did in primary school, we have a module in all of them. And then we have another maybe like 15 on top of that are more about education, psychology, philosophy, special education, all that kind of thing. And then you have work and assignments and stuff to do in all of them. So, it is a lot of juggling and it's busy, but it turns out to be so worthwhile. Like, I'm on placement at the moment, so I'm in schools at the moment, and there are some things that I'm doing with my class now that I learned about in first year that I just maybe hadn't had a chance to do until now, just depending on the classes. And it's so great to kind of think about, oh, I remember hearing about that, and now I'm seeing that happening, and it all just comes full circle.
So you're telling me that it's all set up for a reason. They're not just giving you stuff to do for the fun.
Yeah.
So it's a busy program, and what I want to do in a couple of minutes is balance up that busyness, that academic, with, I guess, how you can unwind, how you can get involved in social and different things. So I'll do that in a few minutes' time for those that are listening, because it obviously is busy and that's important, but there is stuff that goes on, I guess, to counterbalance. Just a reminder, if you're watching this or listening to this live, there's a Q&A function on the screen. You can ask any questions. That you might have for either Ellen or Eoin the next couple of minutes that we're speaking. So you know a bit about the program, as in you're looking to go to DCU, you're interested in the space, the career pathway is something that you think, yeah, I could do this. How or where, from your journey anyway, do you get more information aside from maybe online? Or what did you, and maybe Eoin will go to you first, what did you do to get more information around your research?
So in terms of a prospective student,
yeah.
So I found actually speaking to students at the open day was a brilliant thing, just in terms of actually understanding something from a student perspective, because I think you read all this information online and you look at pictures and you look at videos and things like that, and it doesn't exactly feel personal. Whereas if you get that personal touch in terms of someone's actual experience on the course, and if they say, look, this is what happens, it's not actually that bad, because you see, someone says 24, 26 hours of contact hours a week, you think that's a lot. But when you talk to students, I found that was the biggest thing. And actually, I know that might not be possible in COVID and everything like that, but actually visiting the campus was a big thing for me, just in terms of knowing where I was going to be and what the facilities would be like, and sort of just the atmosphere there as well. Like, it was something really nice to experience. But obviously, with COVID and everything like that, it's a little bit of a different journey.
Yeah, no, sure, absolutely, and that's understandable. Could I just jump in a little bit? So for those that are listening now live or watching this back, so Eoin and Ellen, you just do this all the time. When people are interested in coming to DCU, could I talk to a student? And the answer is yes, in terms of what we would offer. I know yourselves, you've probably even done it this week already, but when students reach out, we often put them in direct contact to give you a sense of what the student thinks, pretty much what we're talking about now, what the student thinks, what they do, what they say, how they give their interpretation. So I guess that offer is open and always will be in terms of your research for DCU. A question came in there, Ellen, so I might throw this one over to you, but Eoin, jump in if you want as well. Were you both certain you wanted to be a primary school teacher when you filled out the CAO, Ellen?
Yeah, so I definitely was certain. I kind of decided when I was a child that I wanted to be a teacher. So I knew that I wanted to do primary school teaching. Now I will say I've had with talking to students in the last few weeks, a few people say, I always thought I wanted to do teaching, and now I'm kind of not sure. Now I'm thinking about other things. And I definitely had that too. I was like, oh, I'm really good at biology. Maybe I'm meant to do science. Like, you know what I mean? And I kind of looked into other courses, but for me, it just always came back to teaching. And I did have a few kind of like other courses that were not educated related, like the very bottom of my CAO, but my top was all education. And then I suppose it's a matter of kind of deciding where you want to do it. And in some ways, the easy things about primary school teaching is there is only, I think, 4 or 5 places in the country that you can do it. So it's not maybe like some degrees where you're like, I couldn't go do this anywhere. So I always just knew I wanted to go to St. Pat's or DCU, as it is now part of, because it's very local to me, and I know some teachers who've been there and had great things to say about it. So yeah, CAO, I definitely knew that DCU and teaching is what I wanted.
Owen always wanted to be a teacher.
Up until the CAO opened, I was absolutely 100% certain that I wanted to be a primary school teacher. And then all of a sudden, I got this sort of surge of, do I actually want to do this? Do I not? And then as I thought about it more, I sat back and thought about it. I thought, this is something I want to do, but it's completely normal. I think between me and Ellen, we've both made it so clear that it's completely normal to have doubts. And if you're not sure, because from the moment I was in primary school, wanted to be a primary school teacher. Going through secondary school, I knew I wanted to be a primary school teacher. And then when it came down to actually putting it down on my CAO, all of a sudden something clicked, and I was like, but do I actually want to do it? So it's completely normal, but I trust my gut. I trusted my gut, and I couldn't be happier with where I am now in terms of the course.
I guess one of the things there, and I know I mentioned a moment ago in a slightly different way, but DCU is always here to, I guess, support people. So, and that is natural, I'm sure, for many people to maybe decide, or maybe is this for me or not. So reaching out, and the student recruitment team are always helpful, always on hand and willing to help in that regard. So if I could just summarize where we are, because I want to counterbalance the conversation and try to get into a little bit around outside of the classroom. But you've done your research, you've reached out, you've been to campus, you love the environment and the atmosphere, as we were talking about already. You put yourself in the shoes of the child and you really immerse yourself into that space. You're very busy, loads of contact hours, meeting people all the time, lots of assignments. Brilliant. But what happens outside the classroom? And if we could try then describe some of the opportunities, club and societies, student ambassadors. And I guess, Ellen, we might go to you first, just in terms of outside the classroom, give people a sense of what goes on and some of the opportunities that are available.
Yeah, of course. So I came into college like very excited. I've always like did loads of after school activities, but I kind of stopped a good few of them, like coming up to the leaving cert and that kind of thing. So I came in like ready to try everything I could try. So I signed up for a bunch of different societies in first year, drama, dance, the gymnastics and trampolining. And there's a teaching society, a few other things as well, that some societies I actually never ended up getting too involved in. But for me, drama was the one I got the most involved in. And then I also, I was on the student council in secondary school the whole way up. So I also went for class rep, and I was lucky to get that. So between the Students' Union, drama, and then also just general events that sometimes are on, like they have a few freshers events in first year. And I was a bit like, oh, I don't know, like it's when the freshers events are on, you're kind of so early into your point in your course that you kind of haven't made necessarily new friends enough to want to go with new people. And like, it'd be kind of hard to decide like, oh, am I going to go or not? But I'm so glad that I went to some of them, because it's so good to push yourself. And I feel like start off that first week or whatever in September, pushing yourself a little bit, and it'll keep yourself pushed for the rest of the time there. So yeah, there's plenty of club and society opportunities and stuff like that. So for me it was drama. I did a couple of shows in first year, and then I've gone on trips with them and stuff as well. And yeah, no, definitely just get stuck in.
Big advice, and it's actually common thread and theme throughout all of these in conversation the last couple of weeks. Get involved, immerse yourself, albeit it can be a challenge and overwhelming and daunting, I guess, in some cases. Owen, anything different? Student ambassador life? Anything else we're missing outside the classroom?
Student ambassador program is something brilliant. I obviously have met so many people from so many different courses in DCU, which I maybe wouldn't have had the experience of before because I wouldn't be as involved in clubs and societies as other people. So I think that was a brilliant opportunity, and the team have been brilliant the whole way through, just in terms of supporting us in kind of just beyond the student recruitment side of things. So that's been brilliant. And I was also involved as a class rep. I was elected onto our Students' Union executive team in first year as the first year officer for the whole of DCU, which was really daunting at the start, representing that many people. And then I'm actually the chairperson of our class rep council now this year. So even if there's not a club or soc that you find that you really click with and get involved in, there's plenty of other ways of getting involved, like the student ambassador program, as a class rep, anything like there's plenty beyond the clubs and society. So if someone, for whatever reason, doesn't feel like they've slotted into a club or soc in their first couple of weeks or whatever, there's plenty of other ways of getting involved.
Yeah, and I guess one of the things, and a couple of questions are coming in, so thank you. I'm going to get to them now in a second. One of the things, I guess, in terms of accelerating your development in a holistic nature at DCU, and I'm a former student at DCU myself, so I can speak as well in terms of being a student, is, I guess, the in-classroom and the world-class exposure that you get to the teaching and learning, but also outside the classroom around your leadership, communication, as you mentioned there, Owen, getting involved in different committees and giving you, I guess, a broader perspective over across a couple of different areas. One of the areas of the questions that came in is about Gaeltacht. One is around the placement, the Gaeltacht side of things, but also if you struggle with the Irish side of things, how will you, I guess, maybe get on in the Gaeltacht, and just give us a sense of that. Ellen, might go to you, but I'll jump in.
Yeah, perfect. So the Gaeltacht in Irish is definitely something that lots of people ask about all the time. It's a big kind of worry, I think, for prospective students, and I can completely relate to that. A lot of people think that teachers all went to Gael schools and they're all kind of fluent, and unless you're that, you can't cope, and the majority are not in that situation. And we go to the Gaeltacht in first and third year, and basically the Gaeltacht, it's a teaching council requirement. So wherever you go to do your primary school teaching degree, you're going to have to go to the Gaeltacht. Obviously COVID, the kind of changes have been made about that, but that's kind of still up in the air for a lot of things. But yeah, so basically go to the Gaeltacht for 2 weeks at Easter in first year and third year, and the Irish speaking requirements. Basically, you speak Irish while you're in your classes as much as possible around the house and on the bus and stuff, but it's not like going in secondary school. You have a lot more free time, and yeah, there's nobody kind of necessarily specifically breathing down your neck, and if you make grammar mistakes, nobody's coming after you saying, oh, that's wrong or whatever. So definitely the Gaeltacht is not something to overly worry about in general. It's actually quite fun, and we didn't get to go last year, but I was actually kind of disappointed even though I was dreading the Gaeltacht in first year. And then Owen, if you want to maybe talk about Irish in general.
No, I just, to echo what Ellen said about the Gaeltacht, it's not like secondary school at all. It's actually really good fun. Like, they don't take your phone off you. You don't get sent home for speaking English or anything like that you might be afraid of from going in secondary school. And in terms of actually studying Irish within, it's something that causes a lot of people a lot of anxiety. Like, I was never in a Gael school, was never a mad Gael goer, but we do there's two sort of separate ways you do Irish in primary teaching. So you do one module, which is just about your own Irish, so your own confidence and competence in actually using the language. And it's just about building yourself up to being confident in using the language, in your own ability of using it. It's not learning off reams of stuff and learning about stories that you don't really care about, like that might be on some other courses. It's just about your own confidence within it. And then you also look at teaching Irish. So methodologies of teaching Irish, because it's taught as a second language in most schools. And that's, again, focused more on the teaching end of it, but you'll definitely have built up a confidence from your Leaving Cert and then from the other Irish modules within the course. It's not something to worry about. You're supported the whole way through it. And you don't have to have a mighty standard of Irish like some people might expect.
And just to jump in there on that, a lot of people ask, is it kind of so much harder than Leaving Cert Irish? And I would honestly say, like, it's very similar, if not the same kind of requirements, grammar wise and stuff. It's pretty much like barely like above it, like very similar
You're not
level,
going to be asked to reinvent the wheel when it comes to your
No.
Gaeilge or anything like that. It's building on what you already know.
Yeah, and that is good to know, but I guess nonetheless, people still have their own, I guess, queries around it. I just want to drop in, so student help at dcu.ie, you'll get us in that any time. If the person that asked that question, you'd like to follow up and maybe get a little bit more, I guess, reassurance or what's on offer, how it works, just please do get in touch anytime. We're here, as I said, all the time, and that's our job, to help and support people with your research to give them the answers that they need. Another question, thank you for people asking questions, much appreciated. Another question that came in, and you may know, I guess, some of the answer or all of the answer, but does Church of Ireland restricted entry mix all together? And then the second part is, and I'm happy to take it, but Owen, you might want to, is at the moment are students learning from home?
So in terms of the Church of Ireland students, they, in any of our curriculum areas, they're all shared. The only difference between them is that they don't get to choose a specialism, that theirs is already chosen for working in small schools, and that their religious education content is different as well. In terms of everything else, it's the exact same course, and you're mixed in with people from all the other entry routes as well. And the other question, could you just
the other question was, an eagle-eyed person noticed that you're on campus, so they wanted to know how are you on campus? Are the students in general, are they on campus? How's learning going?
So first and second years are on campus at the moment, a couple of days a week, depending on the week, basically. Third and fourth year students are more at home. In terms of being on campus, they've been operating at the highest level of restrictions anyway, even when we were at level 3 or level 2. So masks have to be worn at all times inside. The only reason I'm not is because there's no one in the room close to me, and I don't want to have my voice muffled for the video or anything like that. There's sanitization stations around the campus, everything like that, and all your classes are fully COVID safe in terms of following guidelines, everything like that. Classrooms are spaced out. You have your 2-meter bubble around you, everything like that. But a lot of things that may have sometimes been on campus before, like the bigger lectures, might be moved online simply because they can't accommodate the numbers in that kind of size on campus.
Sure. And hopefully for the people that are watching this live or even watching this back, and please God, this time next year, 2021, that I guess the physical opportunities, as we mentioned, the atmosphere, the people, all those wonderful things, we back working as normal per se. But thanks for the question. And there's a couple of minutes left, literally 5 minutes left. If there is any other last minute questions, please do get them in. I asked this question in a number of different ways. This is for both. Ellen, I might jump to you. Looking back now, knowing what you know, so people that are now tuning in, watching this live, watching this back and record, they're doing their research, they're going to open days, they're talking to students, they're doing everything they can. Anything else? What advice would you give to yourself? What was that one thing or two things that said, if I had known that then, that would have helped?
I don't know. I think in some ways, I kind of put a lot of pressure on myself at the start to be like, I need, like, I'm here a week, I'm here 2 weeks. I should have a great group of friends by now. I should be settled in. I should, I thought that all these things would have happened for me. That just didn't happen for a very long time. And like, that's the case with a lot of people. Like the group of friends that I'm friends with now, we didn't really come together until like maybe February of first year. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of the groups of friends kind of only formed around then, or maybe towards the end of the first semester. So I think the biggest thing for me, and I knew people in my course, I knew loads of people in DCU, so it wasn't a case that I went in not knowing anyone or anything, but I just expected a lot of things to happen, like making friends, feeling settled, coping with the work. Like, it is a different kind of writing for college, and I found that kind of very like kind of daunting and stuff, and I felt that I should be better at it than I was. And now looking back, I'm like, how could I have been, if it was the first time doing it, how would I expect myself to have been able to do it more? So I think that's something I would just say, like, don't be expecting yourself to be able to do more than you're going to be able to do.
Oh, and you're nodding your head, you're in agreement, or you're...
Oh, completely, yeah. And I think it's in terms of when you're a prospective student, when you're a student, just ask questions all the time. never be afraid to ask questions, even if it seems like something so small and stupid that you think you should know. Just ask. Like it won't be the first time anyone's heard that question. The lights after turning off on me. It won't be the first time they've heard that question, and it just can help clarify things that someone might think is obvious, but they don't appreciate that you don't know that yet. When you're, looking to study somewhere, when you're actually studying somewhere, it's just questions are so important.
Yeah, and it's so true. And just to maybe reiterate, there's people like myself employed by the university that are here to assist and support. There's, as we mentioned in previous conversations, there's a whole student support and development team that once you get to DCU or you're in your journey coming into DCU, again, if there's any issues, you want to change course, you have something going on, you're not happy, loads of different things. I guess staff are fully employed by the university to support, as are a group of wonderful student ambassadors, just like the two of you guys are in terms of what you do, as are a group of student ambassadors who are, I guess, that first point of contact around open days and various other things. So we have about probably 2 minutes left in terms of the conversation. So maybe if we could just leave the last words or word to yourself in terms of your DCU experience, trying to sum it up so far, and lots more to go, please God. Try to sum up your experience so far, and I know we're putting on the spot a little bit, but just try to, I guess, summarize, or whatever way you can, what stands out, what's been good for you, how have you enjoyed your time, or what has been the highlights so far. Ellen.
I suppose like some of the highlights for me have just been like the friends I've made, and because of the friends I made, some of the trips I've gone, the places I've been to, like on holidays and stuff. Now, nothing like, I haven't gone backpacking or anything like crazy or anything, but just things like that, like friends I've made and kind of things like that I've really enjoyed. And I suppose like being on placement and that kind of thing, like being in the classroom and stuff, kind of, I think it makes me, because I know I wanted to be a teacher, so it makes me kind of happy then when I get to be out in schools and kind of working as an actual teacher and stuff. They're kind of things that stand out for me, and just feeling like a part of something when you're in a club or society or student ambassadors, and they're just like great feelings that I have from being part of DCU.
Brilliant to hear. Owen, last word to you.
I think it's all the little things that add up. I think I can't put my finger on one thing that's been like a standout moment in DCU or a standout thing about my time in college in general. It's all the little moments and little things you do, like, going for coffee with your friends after a lecture, or people you've just met, or sitting beside someone in a lecture who you think, I really should know their name, but you don't, and you have to kind of like swallow your pride and ask them, or anything like that. It's just all the little moments like that really add up to just have this whole experience in general. It's something kind of really hard to articulate and explain. Yeah, it's just little moments that add up to make an experience.
It's probably a really fitting way to finish, and we have a couple of seconds left, so thanks for everybody tuned in. But I guess all those little moments, as you put it there, is something. It's like a layered approach. You're getting your teaching over here, you're meeting your friends over here, you're getting your social opportunities over here. There's obviously a career at the end of it all, and I guess just the experiences in general, and just, I guess, every way you turn. From the St. Patrick's campus that you guys are on, from up to the Glasnevin campus and across to our other sports campuses, the other campuses that we have. I guess there's so many opportunities. So DCU, needless to say, is very lucky to have you both. As always, thanks for your time, thanks for your insights, your attention around just helping others, giving back, not only in ways like this, but also, as I mentioned earlier on, you can contact any one of you and any one of the student ambassador team 24/7 literally, and you get a response in terms of the personalized kind of touch and feel that I guess we all would have in many different ways, having come through DCU and currently in DCU in terms of our journeys, both as staff and students. So really just say thank you on behalf of everybody watching live. You're watching this back recorded, you get us anytime on studenthelp@dcu.ie. Hopefully we'll see both of you very, very soon.
Thanks, Jonny.
Thanks, Jonny. Thanks, everyone.
As always, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully there was something in this conversation of value. You can reach us anytime at studenthelp@dcu.ie anytime. And as I said, more than willing to help. Hopefully today was of use, and we'll speak to everybody really, really soon.